Hi everyone. We are grateful for you, our dear viewers. This is Mobusa Publications, and my name is Daniel Wangwe, the Vice Chairperson for the association. Mobusa stands for Mapere Biology Students Association. Today we are bringing for you a new subtopic, which is the introduction to parasitology. We are going to stroll slowly through the introduction to parasitology part. Um, Parasitology, as of the definition, refers to the study of parasites, their hosts, and the interactions between them. Several interactions have been discovered concerning these parasites with their hosts. That's why the section of the interaction must not be ignored. Some hosts have died due to the interactions, and then some continue persisting the invasion of the parasites. Parasitology encompasses protozoa, elements, and also some ectoparasites like ticks and lice. So generally, the study of the protozoans and elements is covered in parasitology. We do not ignore ticks and lice because they are also potential parasites that actually invade both human beings and some of the domesticated animals we have at home. We are now going to drive through some concepts of parasitology, and these concepts are: number one is traditional parasitology, and you see in a bracket here we have protozoology. The protozoology simply refers to the study of protozoans. So protozoology simply comes from the word protozoa, meaning study of the protozoans. Traditional parasitology, here we are looking at how parasitology came to develop up to the normal of the current periods or current times. It developed along two lines. The first line of parasitology development is in this form, that uh, one is able to identify the parasite and then associate it with the diseases that the parasite causes. Then the other form is one who is able to recognize the disease, then is able to relate the disease to the parasite that actually causes this disease. Also, it involves the study of how these diseases are spread. Traditionally, parasitologists were able to identify parasites by merely looking at them, and that's the morphological part of it. And also, you could also focus at the life cycle of these parasites. And we could wonder how these guys were able to do that, but when we look back into the history, we find that even the great Egyptians in 1500 BC were able to document some writings concerning parasites. So parasitology has not begun today, it began many years ago. The second concept under parasitology is helminthology and parasitology. Helminthology simply deals with the study of parasitic worms, and during the study of these parasitic worms, we look at their life cycle. And in this case, we focus on the different developmental stages of the parasite. And then we also focus at the host parasite interactions. We know that parasites tend to infect their hosts in several ways. Some of them penetrate through the skin, some are just inoculated into the body, some are in position to digest through the tissues, and then they find themselves into the bloodstream, in some or they find themselves in the nervous system. All these are interactions between the host and the parasite. Then we can also be able to look at the ecological impact, how these parasites actually impact the host, especially their environment that they live. And then how about us human beings? We know these parasites in most cases they cause diseases and then eventually can lead to death of their hosts. But how can we be in a position to curb that? That shall also be looked at during the study of parasitology. The other concept is anthropology. You may wonder, why do we bring anthropology here? Because it merely looks at the study of human beings, their societies, cultures, and biological aspects. So one will be asking, why anthropology? But we also need to take note that anthropology, I mean, the study of human beings, their culture, their societies, the biological aspects within them helps us to identify ways in which, or ways that actually cause the spread of these parasites. Look at the cultural practices. Some cultural practices like two lovers mixing their blood and eating it. That's a cultural practice. And actually it encourages the spread of parasites. Our blood carries a lot of parasites, including plasmodium. So that means if one eats the blood of the other, could be actually eating um, the parasite protozoans, if in case the blood was infected. Then, studying anthropology or behavior of these human beings helps us to be able to control. For the case that I just mentioned, that means one is able to avoid eating or mixing blood of someone whom they don't know their statuses in order to prevent the spread of these parasites. Anthropology is crucial because it enables us to look at how man has been able to co-evolve with the parasites. That's the second point we're looking at. Now, uh, parasites came into human life long before even animals were domesticated. But in addition to that, when animals came home, when man was able to bring these animals home, the cats, the dogs, the cows, so many animals, they came along with their particular parasites, which are actually affecting our health today. So, adaptations of parasites to their way of life can be also focused on here. How were they able to say, now let us put off our guard? Let us now lose our legs to be able to stay in the gut of the other man or the other goat. How were they able to do that? That section, co-evolution of man and parasites, is also covered under parasitology. Then we could also be able to focus on health and diseases, particularly how one is able to manage parasitic diseases in their societies. That's why anthropology is important, because you've said it helps us to be able to control the spread of the diseases, understand the evolution of man and parasites, and also be in a position to manage the parasitic diseases in case we encounter them. This is our next medical parasitology, which is our next concept of parasitology. Now, medical parasitology, as it focuses on diagnosis and treatment. We've said earlier that uh, the earliest parasitologists were able to simply look at the parasite and then discover or understand what it is simply by use of morphology. But today, scientists, especially those ones who are doing medical parasitology, they are in position to go further deep and use microscopes to actually view these um, parasites that are microscopic in nature. And then, besides just looking at the morphology, they are also in position to diagnose the disease by simply use of clinical features. Now, drugs have been developed, and these drugs are developed by the medics basing on the nature of the parasite. So they have to first study the physiology of the parasite before they come up with a particular drug that can combat that parasite. Um, this also looks at epidemiology, which actually encompasses the origin of diseases and how they can be controlled. Besides that, you could also be looking at where or how far this disease can move. We have what we call zoonoses. These zoonoses are diseases that are transmitted from animals to human beings. Now, why medical parasitology? Medical parasitology is crucial because it involves development of drugs that can actually help in the treatment of several diseases that are spread by these parasites. And then we can also be able to come up with the epidemiology of several other diseases that affect human beings worldwide. This part of veterinary parasitology could be looking lousy, and one could wonder why. We look at veterinary parasitology. Now, before I can break down that, maybe let me just give a brief highlight of what veterinary parasitology is. Veterinary parasitology simply deals with the study of several diseases and their parasites, but in animals. So look at the parasite, the diseases that they cause in animals, whereas medical parasitology was looking at parasites and diseases in human beings. So those are two different things, medical parasitology and then veterinary parasitology. So we look at veterinary parasitology because uh, we have what we call zoonotic diseases, which actually affect human beings. And these diseases, as I said earlier, are spread uh, from animals to human beings. That's why we refer to them as zoonotic diseases. So veterinary parasitology is able to come up with ideas or with ways of how to prevent the spread of parasites from animals to humans. Besides that, animals that we keep at home are source of food to us. And besides just being source of food, they are sold for income. The cattle corridors, people sell cattle to pay school fees, cater for other bills in the family. So economically, we need to study veterinary parasitology to ensure that our animals are healthy and to keep up our economic statuses, even nationwide. And then we are in a position to control and prevent the spread of diseases. We know very well that whenever there is a disease outbreak in Uganda, especially in the cattle corridors, is what we call a quarantine. This is a form of preventing the spread of parasites from one place to another, or from one district to another district. So generally, uh, parasitology looks at these basic terms. So once again, we need to focus on terms like veterinary parasitology, medical parasitology, helminthology, uh, protozoology, and as well traditional parasitology. These are the basic terms that are always considered during the study of parasitology. Otherwise, I wish you well. Link up in the next video.